We welcome you to Rogers Center in Toronto, where the Blue Jays, going into the game yesterday, realized they had clinched a spot in the postseason. And now their mission is to finish off the American League East. The Rays will be wrapping up this series and the road trip, and they'll be facing the left-hander Mark Buehrle here this afternoon. Another full house at Rogers Center. Starting lineups presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Brandon Guyer's going to lead it off, followed by Mikey Montook playing center today. Evan Longoria hits third, plays third. The DH hitting cleanup, Logan Forsythe, followed by Asdrubal Cabrera, Steven Souza Jr., Tim Beckham, Richie Schaefer, and Luke Maile will do the catching. Bill Bad Night.
Now they'll be going up against Mark Buehrle, the soft-tossing, fast-working left-handed starter here for the Blue Jays. And here we go.
First pitch of this game swung on and a shot to center field. Pilar on the run, diving, can't get there. Extra bases for Guyer, digging for second, rounding the bag and headed for third with a stand-up triple. On the first pitch of the game, presented by Pinch-A-Penny, Brandon Guyer triples his second three-base hit of the year.
Well, you got a guy that works quick, and the Rays start quick. A ball right out over the plate, and Brandon Guyer able to get this just out of the reach of Kevin Pilar. A ton of highlight reel catches made by Pilar this season. Did not get to that one, and that allows Guyer to get into third base.
Here's Mikey Montook. He takes the ball. Guyer with that triple now finds himself 7 of 19 in his career against Buehrle. 1-1 the count on Montook. There's the veteran lefty. 213 career victories. 2-1. That evens the count, the foul ball. It up the right side. That's going to be out of play. Mikey Montook in here against Buehrle. His first big league hit came against this guy.
Well, let's take a look at the Blue Jays defense, brought to you by BMW in the outfield, left to right. Get to that foul ball first. Mark Buehrle, I tell you, he doesn't give you a whole lot of time to do much of anything about quick he works. But in that outfield left to right, Revere, Pilar, and Bautista. And across that infield third to first, Donaldson, Goins, Barney, and Smoke with Navarro behind the plate.
Swing and a miss. Montook out on strikes, following the triple by Guyer.
Well, that's exactly what Mark Buehrle needed. He doesn't get many of these. Obviously not a big strikeout guy because he's not a big stuff guy, but he will frustrate you as a hitter, and he's able to power 82 miles an hour by Montook right there.
It brings up Evan Longoria. Pops it up right side. Smoke into foul territory, makes the catch and tag, but no attempt to come down the line by Guyer. So he's still at third with 2 outs.
You talk about frustrating. A leadoff triple on the first pitch against Buehrle. You're thinking that's going to be at least 1 run for the Rays, and he's on the verge of getting out of this with the strikeout and the pop-up.
Well, Logan Forsythe, who is the DH today, comes in 9 of 22 against Buehrle, having a career year with his first opportunity to play every day, and he has responded. Takes a strike.
And Logan still looking for his first hit in this series. This would be a fine time.
And there it is, a base hit to get the run home. So with 2 outs, Forsythe comes through, and it's 1-0 Rays, picking up his 68th run batted in of the year.
And I love the fact that he did not get greedy. You know, against Mark Burley, his stuff is so hittable as far as speed goes that you have that tendency to get greedy and want to pull everything. Logan just lets that ball get into the zone and just sees it up and lines it into right field, takes his single, and drives in that run.
There's Asdrubal Cabrera. Pitch is wide. The ball, no strikes. One ball, 1 strike. Out of play. Sets it at 1-2. The pop up. Foul ball, Smokes after it, makes the catch. And the Rays are retired in the first. They pick up a run on the triple by Geyer and the 2-out single by Forsythe. Presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Ben Revere leads off again, followed by Josh Donaldson, then Jose Bautista and Edwin Encarnacion. Smoke, Navarro, Pilar, Goins, and Barney completing the lineup for John Gibbons.
And Matt Andriese making the start, his 8th of the season for the Rays, the first since the 7th of July. And working out of the bullpen, now gets a chance to go out and start this ball game.
And the first pitch is upstairs. 1 ball and no strikes.
And ultimately, this really becomes a bullpen day for the Rays. Now, you're thinking if you could get 4 innings out of Andriese, that would be outstanding. And then try to piece it together from there.
Yeah, because you mentioned his last big league start. He did start in the minor leagues, but it's been the middle of August since that occurred. Ground ball. That's Beckham playing second base, and Revere kept off the bases.
Now he's so disruptive. 30 stolen bases for Ben Revere. So with the sluggers coming up, that's a big out there for Andriese. Keep him off and work with these guys nobody on. And if Matt Andriese is right, you'll see a lot of what you just saw, a lot of ground balls.
Well, the Rays are hoping for that with the likes of Josh Donaldson stepping up. This is that quick strike offense. The pitch is a ball. You get Revere with his ability to get on base and his speed. Then you instantly face the power of Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion. It's a nice pitch right there.
A very sharp breaking ball by Matt Andriese. Took it right off the plate. Got an awkward swing from Donaldson.
Doubles up.
Not picking it up. And why go away from it? You know, when you see swings like that, those swings tell you that the pitch recognition is just not there yet for Donaldson. So there's no reason to veer away from that pitch.
One out, base is empty. Donaldson tops in runs batted in with 121, third in home runs with 40, and he takes a rip at a fastball.
Well, okay, if you want to go back with the fastball, that's fine. Don't put it there.
No.
You're very fortunate that that's just a foul ball. And by the way, I'd be hightailing it right back to that slider right now.
You betcha. And he goes up with a fastball. It's 2-2.
Okay, now.
And a really good one.
Yeah.
Full count.
Yeah, you got away with that one too. You know, a lot of times you throw the good sliders to get to 2 strikes, and all of a sudden you try to throw a nasty one, and it ends up backing up on you. And that ball out of the zone, and now you've run full. And now you've got to be out over the plate, at least in theory.
Big cut, a foul ball, fastball. Boy, you can tell what Donaldson likes. Big cut. I mean, this team, their offense can put you on the defensive quickly.
We've seen it here the first couple of ball games in this series. Saw it yesterday with Chris Archer. I mean, this offense came out and put up 5 runs in about 5 minutes.
And frankly, it took Archer completely out of his game.
Yes.
He let it get away from him. A little pop-up foul. That's going to be out of play.
That was the most that we've seen Chris Archer out of sorts, not only in his game on the mound, but even emotionally in a long time.
Well, a learning experience in that matchup with David Price, a lot of emotion there, and command was an issue from the beginning.
That's back-to-back starts of 5 walks in each.
And upstairs, he walks him. Well, they got ahead with 2 great sliders, and now walks him with a fastball up.
He went away from the slider in the middle of that at-bat. You threw 2 great ones. He wasn't close on either swing. He veered from that, and all of a sudden, you turn out, you walk him. But you know, let's think about it. Matt Andriese and Luke Maile. You've got 2 young guys working right here. Maybe a veteran catcher forces them back to that slider.
And there's a strike to Bautista. Bautista with 39 home runs. Donaldson back-handed first, but that's what this lineup can do.
There was 38, 39.
One ball, 1 strike. Popped up right side. Schaefer, tough play, and he's not going to make it. Oh, he had a tough start tracking that one and found himself with his back to the infield.
Yeah, we talk an awful lot about the pop-ups down the line for first baseman and third baseman, how the angles are difficult, and this just shows you how difficult it is. Richie Schaefer got off to a bad start, was not tracking it well, and really did not have a chance, didn't give himself a chance to make that play.
One and two the count to Bautista. Drives it into center field. Mikey Montouk is right there for him.
Well, let's take a look at that Rays defense. Set that for you here, brought to you by our very good friends at BMW. In the outfield left to right, we've got Brandon Geyer, Mikey Montouk, and Steven Souza Jr. And across the infield, third to first, Evan Longoria, as Asdrubal Cabrera, Tim Beckham, and Richie Schaefer with Luke Maile behind the plate.
Now Edwin Encarnacion tied for fourth in the league in runs batted in. It is an intimidating trio, second, third, and fourth in the lineup when you look at their production. 121 runs batted in, 110 runs batted in, and it drops all the way down to 105 runs batted in. Hard hit ground ball through the left side. Donaldson will go to second on the base hit by Encarnacion.
And how about this, Dwayne? This team has scored 15 runs in the first two games of this series, and that was Edwin Encarnacion's first hit. He was 0 for 9 coming into today, and he finally gets his first hit of the series. That's how dangerous they are. And by the way, when you read those numbers like that at 2, 3, and 4, wouldn't you think that you run out of opportunities to drive in runs?
Yeah, you think the guy in front of you would drive in all the runs.
Yeah.
There's still enough for those guys. Look at that.
That's remarkable. Hitting all bunched up in the same lineup. Obviously, to do that, you've got to hit a lot of home runs because you've got to be driving yourself in to accumulate those numbers.
And Justin Smoke fouls it, strike one. Well, they lead in runs scored, and they have over 100 more than the New York Yankees. The Yankees are second. 848 runs scored for Toronto.
Encarnacion's still working on his swing down there at first.
Yeah, he's not hitting well enough. His pitch is wide. How about that? Here he is. He's in the top 10 in home runs, tied for fourth in runs batted in. He's still concerned about his hitting over there.
He's disgusted with singles. Singles are for suckers, is what he's saying.
Smoke straightened up on a fastball in. It's 2-1. Well, Justin Smoke, who had struggled in Seattle and in the early stages of his time with the Blue Jays, has gotten into the swing of things here as well. He's hitting .275 with 16 home runs, 53 runs batted in. Bounces it foul. Just a couple of at-bats again, Andres, but he's 2 for 2 off him with a home run. The other way. That will one-hop the fence. It's a double. Donaldson scores. Encarnacion has to stop at third. 1-1 ball game.
Yeah, that's a huge break for the Rays. Encarnacion was more than willing to turn up and try to score on this play. Not going to be allowed to do that. This is a breaking ball that stays away from Smoke, and he just shoots it the other way. with 2 outs, Encarnacion was running on contact, and you could see his disgust really when that ball bounced over the fence. He kind of looked up like, are you kidding me? I was going to score.
You know, it's interesting with Smoke, and the little we've seen him since his offense has been revived, he has gone the other way a little bit more. He got into trouble trying to pull a lot of pitches and was beaten that way, and he goes the opposite way for a double there. There's Deoner Navarro.
It's amazing how many hits you can find on the other side of the field, and how many hits that will be given to you if you just go that way because of the way the defense is put up against you.
Well, it's 2-0 to Navarro, who is 3 for 3 lifetime against Andres, the same way Smoke is now. And Navarro has a home run off the Rays right-hander. Three and 0.
Trying to come in with that fastball, and it's been 3 yank misses by Andres, way in off the plate. And you run the risk of losing Navarro and bringing up Pilar, who has absolutely pillaged the Rays in this series.
Cut the miss. So he was swinging 3-0, 3-1 now. You know, this went from 1 out with 2 strikes on Donaldson to now, this is at this point a 26 pitch inning. A run later and 2 more in scoring position, and this one is lifted into shallow right. Souza coming in to make the catch. 2 men left on base. The Blue Jays score 1. We're tied at 1. On to the second we go. Toronto Blue Jays, veteran lefty, as we take a look at our Toyota trend. This is quite a trend that Mark Burley finds himself in here. Most consecutive seasons in Major League history with 30-plus starts, 10-plus wins, and 200-plus innings pitched. And he's really going to have to go some to get to 200.
Well, you saw 186 and a third innings right now, so he's going to have to go 7 innings, 6 2/3. He needs about 13 2/3 to get there.
First pitch to Steven Souza Jr. is a strike, but what a list to be on.
Well, it's when you're on the list with the black and white photos, you're really doing something.
Yep.
That's just the bottom line.
That's pretty amazing. You know, and you'd think it'd be a big, hard throwing pitcher. A little pop to the right side, Smoke backing out from first. Souza's out of there. But what Burley does with what he has, command, and he takes command of the mound. He sets the pace himself.
He's the quickest worker in Major League Baseball. Look at the starts, the wins, the ERA, the CGs. He's got 4 complete games this year. That's tied for the Major League lead.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. That speaks to, we talked the other night about how the game changes all the time. Boy, right there's a great example. Tough for a starting pitcher to get a complete game.
Yep. But he can be so efficient. You know, he limits walks. He works quickly. Obviously, he's not blowing guys away with his stuff, so a lot of balls put in play. He gets a lot of ground balls.
Well, and here's the thing, you know, as he's trying to get to that 200 innings pitch mark, I mean, he might do it. He has, counting this one, probably 2 starts left. He's so efficient. He could pitch 7, 8 innings.
Yeah,
and get there.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, you just look at his complete games. I mean, he's got 4 of them. There's 3 other pitchers in the big leagues that have 4. So he's more than capable of doing that. But he just confounds you, frustrates you.
Tim Beckham pops it up on 1 and 2, foul out of play. Well, for him, and he's going to need 7 innings somewhere along the line in those starts. 6 and 2/3 and 7 to get to 200. And the last time he has pitched 7 innings was back on the 13th of August. Strike call. Beckham is out of there. 2 gone. Second strikeout for Burley.
Well, he locks him up with 81 in. Nice job by Navarro to freeze that ball right on the inside corner. And that's how he confounds you. I mean, hitters don't like to get beat in by anybody, let alone an 81-mile-an-hour fastball.
Richie Schaefer takes the pitch away. Grounds it to third. Donaldson flips it across, and Schaefer is out of there. 1, 2, 3, go the Rays. 1-1 tie.
Center. Andrees had a pitch limit of anywhere from 50 to 60 today. Already used up 27 of those in the first inning. Kevin Cash said he'll probably use the bullpen a little differently, with Archer and Odorizzi the previous 2 games not going as deep as they normally do. he said our bullpen's a little banged up, so you may see guys come in for an inning or two at a time. Kevin said they probably will not play the matchup game today, just based on the fact that Andriese doesn't have a lot of length, and the bullpen's been used extensively, guys.
And that 27 mark that you referenced, significant here. So here's Kevin Pillar. The pitch is a strike. Well, there's no question that the pen has carried a heavy load this year. 0-2, 515 and a third innings pitched. And they've been involved in a lot of high leverage situations, this bullpen. 1-2 the count to Kevin Pillar. Two and two. Goins on deck. Pillar pops it straight back foul. Holds the count at 2-2.
Kevin Pillar, he has given the Rays fits in this series. 5 out of 7. He's got 3 doubles. He's got a home run.
Yeah, and what a story he's been. He was a 32nd round pick in the 2011 draft.
Isn't it amazing how some guys can slip through the system and then develop rather quickly, become an everyday center fielder. He's good out there, makes a lot of very good plays, ranks high on a lot of those defensive metrics lists.
And a lot of people are surprised that he's producing offensively, but when you look at his numbers right from the very beginning, when he was drafted starting in 2011 in the lower minor leagues, he's hit wherever he's been. Just gotten more mature, he's stronger, and has gained all that experience and has really come into his own here in Toronto.
And all of Canada, apparently. They love it.
Goins takes a pitch up.
Wouldn't it be nice to be loved by an entire country? I'm hoping. I'm working on the neighborhood right now. This guy, he's loved by the whole country.
Yeah, or maybe just our crew. You know,
yeah.
You know, he's got Canada. We're working on our crew. It's popped up. Down from third, Longoria. Goins is the second out.
It's gotten interesting the last week or so with the crew. A little sideways.
Yeah, what a great group it is.
It was. And it still has the potential to be, but yeah, it got a little weird there.
We'll all come together on the flight home for the final homestand. We're looking forward to the final homestand.
Yes, we are.
Who's Darwin Barty?
We may need to schedule a get-together tomorrow on the off day to iron things out.
There you go.
So you can finish strong.
One strike the count to Barney. Right there, see, the Blue Jays are coming together. One nation, one team. Setting a good example for our crew.
Our friends up north.
1 ball, 1 strike. It's a ball, 2 strikes. And Andriese making his 8th start for the Rays this year. Two and two. Rays dropping the first 2 games of this series. Following a little 3-game winning streak, the Rays taking 3 out of 4 from the Red Sox at Fenway and dropping their first 2 games here, 3-3 on the trip. And now, after getting ahead, the count is full. Revere, top of the order on deck. You see 41 pitches already. Pitch in, and Barney fouls it out of play. The other way. Rays playing their final road game of the year. They're a game under 500 on the road at 38-39. And this one popped into left center. Matuk is there. 3 up, 3 down. We're headed into the third. Game tied 1-1. Drove one home for Toronto. We're tied 1-1 going into the third, and Luke Maile, the Rays' young catcher, getting a look here after spending the year in the minor leagues. And Maile takes the pitch. That's a strike. Luke right now 2 for 23 in the big leagues.
Well, the key against Burley, as quick as he works, patience. Patience, patience.
Yeah, he will get you right into his rhythm if you let him.
Yeah.
And you'll just follow him right off the plate. I mean, there's a lot of guile involved in his approach and command.
Well, that's why discipline is the key. The Rays running out a lot of young players today. And for them to have success, you've got to go up there with a plan and execute it, not get caught up into his game.
Popped up. It's Donaldson down from third. And the first out. Time now for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag #SSDataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast Brought to you by T-Mobile. Brandon Guyer opened the game with a triple his first time. Goes after the first pitch. A little piece of it foul. Brandon Guyer in here against Burley. One. Guyer getting another start against left-handed pitching. He's actually handled both right and left-handed pitching pretty well this year. We've seen a lot more lefties.
Yeah, and you look at the splits, and there's a 1-point difference. 267 against lefties, 266 against righties.
Well, he's been in there 50 times now against left-handed pitchers starting against the Rays. And 49 of those 50 have been out of the leadoff spot. He works the count full. There's that lefty-righty breakout now after the triple his first time up. And he's headed to first, hit by a pitch.
Yeah. Might as well add to the total.
21st time that's happened this year.
Well, it was ball 4 regardless, but this one is going to catch him down there around the ankle. See, he kind of rolls into it, takes it.
So he adds to his club record. Here's Mikey Matuk. Takes a strike. Guyer on for the second time. Fly ball lifted to right center. Pilar on the run. That's got some carry, and it's out of here. Home run to right center field off the bat of Mikey Matuk. And that gives the Rays a 3-1 lead. Matuk takes Burley deep again. That's his 6th home run of the year. And Mikey's first career home run came off Burley. Hit the breaking ball out.
Well, that's showing the patience on a ball that's away, not trying to pull it. And boy, does he juice that ball into right center. He hit that out in between the 375 and 400 foot sign in the outfield. And that's opposite field. That's big time power there by Mikey Matuk, getting that out of here and giving the Rays a 2-run lead.
There's Longoria reaching. Two strikes to count to Evan. Well, Matuk with 6 home runs on the year, and all of them have come on the road. Strike 3 called. Longoria, the second out.
Pitch execution. This is a backdoor cutter by Mark Burley. He starts it off the plate, takes it right to the corner at the knees. You don't get much better than that.
There's Logan Forsythe. He takes a strike. Burley continues this pace. The home run seems not to affect him at all. He's right back into his routine.
Well, that was the 20th home run given up by Burley, and only the 4th with a runner on base. 16 of the 19 home runs he gave up solo shots. Matuk got him for the 2-run homer. But you're right, he just gets right back up on the horse and starts making pitches. A little easier to do that too when you know the kind of offense you have behind you. He said, that 2-run homer, we could have that in a couple of minutes.
Forsythe out on strikes. A couple of strikeouts following the home run by Mikey Montook. A 2-run shot. The Rays lead 3-1. Toyota, let's go places. By Outback Steakhouse. Order online at Outback.com. By Hattrick's Tavern. Come join the party we call Hattrick's. And by Morgan Auto Group. Make it Morgan. We make it happen. Mikey Montook's 6th home run of the year. Second off Burley. Giving the Rays a 3-1 lead. And Revere opens the bottom of the 3rd with a strike. And Andriese on the mound for the Rays. That's a fair ball. Schaefer up with it, steps on the bag, 1 gone.
And I know that that's just a 3 unassisted there, but I thought that was a nice job by Richie Schaefer to go and charge that ball and smother it. Instead of playing back, you got the speed of Revere. You may get yourself a bad hop. He chose to be aggressive and go get this ground ball. See, that ball can chop you and you never know. So go get it and make a play. Nice job.
And we've seen that approach from Schaefer both at 3rd and at 1st. He's made some nice plays and will be aggressive. Here's Josh Donaldson. 1 ball, no strikes. Strike, 1-1. Well, the first inning, in terms of pitch count, got away from Andriese a little bit after he had retired Revere and got ahead of Donaldson. 2 strikes. An extended at bat for Donaldson turned out to be a walk. Now the count's 1-2. And before Andriese could get out of that inning, he'd given up a run and made 27 pitches on a day when he had hoped to maybe give the Rays 4. Making his first start since a minor league start the 13th of August, and he strikes out Donaldson here and went after with a fastball.
Short work. Got a couple of calls down and away, then he climbs the ladder just a little bit and is able to beat him up around the letters. Donaldson, you can see that swing, very powerful, but there's also a lot going on. The leg kick.
Now Jose Bautista. Bautista tracks that breaking ball wide. 2-0. Two and one, big cut at the fastball. Tonight's Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. 30-plus home runs in Rays history. Delgado with 8. Carter had 4. Bautista has 4. Fly ball skied to center. Montuk will come in for it and make the catch. 1, 2, 3, go the Blue Jays. We're headed into the fourth. 3-1 Rays. Toronto as we go to the fourth. Rays facing Mark Burley, the 36-year-old left-hander. And as Drupal Cabrera opens the inning, shoots one foul out of play. Strike the count. One. A ball, 2 strikes. The Jays coming into play today with 89 wins overall. They're 89 and 65. It's a foul ball tapped right back, grabbed by Navarro. So at 89 and 65, 24 games over 500 for John Gibbons. It's the first time they've been 24 games over 500 since the final day of the season in 1993. Last time they went to the postseason, beat the Phillies in the World Series. They finished 95 and 67 that year. Lifted into left. That's Revere. One gone. Family Fun Day coming up when the Rays take on the Blue Jays at Tropicana Field Sunday, the 4th of October. And kids 14 and under can get the Raymond Halloween mask While supplies last, call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Rays up.
Could you imagine what this team would do if the band was together for the entire season? You mentioned that 24 games over 500 on the year. They're 25 games over 500 since the All-Star break. Imagine that. 44-19 since the break. And you think about this team being together all year, you're going to start with 100 wins. How high do you go?
They were a good team offensively to begin with. They've improved that, and they've improved their defense. And that has helped to improve the pitching.
You get a couple of youngsters stepping up, coming out of the bullpen. You think about Roberto Osuna getting a chance to close now.
Here's what you're talking about right there. 50 and 51. The liner into center. Souza has himself a base hit. So he's 1 for 2.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, there was an uptick offensively, of course, that you're going to get that. You add Tulowitzki, you add Revere. Some of the other guys have even, stepped in and done some things. You mentioned Justin Smoke earlier. But look at the starters' ERA, down over a run. Bullpen hanging in there about the same, but the starters, that's what really jumps out at you. And it's because a lot of it has to do with that defense. Tulowitzki at short, Revere out and left. And then, of course, Pilar plays a tremendous center field.
Yeah, they settled in with Revere and Pilar, and Tulowitzki has made a major difference with him. He's only hitting 230-something, but what he has brought to this club in terms of winning experience and quality play at shortstop has helped to solidify this team.
We may get a look at him next weekend at the Trop.
There's a little popper that drops into short left. Souza Jr. heads on to third, and Beckham has a base hit.
Well, Souza Jr. Taking advantage of, number one, having a good read, an aggressive read, but a good read, and then the turf. As that ball bounces up off the turf and Ben Revere has to wait for it to come back down, he just heads to third. Kind of a little flare. And right there, as soon as he leaves his feet, Souza Jr. aggressively gets to third, and with less than 2 outs, that's a big base running play for the Rays.
There's Richie Schaefer. He sends a high fly ball into left. Revere will go back to make the catch, tagged by Souza Jr. He's headed to the plate. He is safe at the plate and just beating the throw into second base is Beckham. And you want to make sure you beat that play and let Souza score. I mean, that's a possibility. If you're thrown out and the runner hasn't crossed the plate, you've lost a run there.
Yeah, absolutely. Revere, this throw, first of all, it comes out of the camera screen. You had to back up to get it. He put some air underneath that, but it ends up being a closer play than you would certainly have liked. Because you're right, they tag him out and they go back and look, and Souza Jr.'s foot's coming down on home plate. You end up costing your team a run. Fortunately, that did not happen.
Bailey up here with a count of 1 ball, no strikes. Ground ball. Donaldson up with it, picks himself up and makes the throw to first to get Bailey. That time with the catcher going down the line. Rays score a run. Now lead 4-1. Upgrade your seat and your experience using the MLB.com ballpark app. It's available for iPhone and Android smartphones. Upgrading is fast, it's simple, and it's fun. While in the app, just select your featured upgrade on your mobile device at the ballpark, then show your phone to the usher. It's really that easy. To download the MLB.com ballpark app, visit raysbaseball.com. Getting easier all the time. Here's Edwin Encarnacion. Encarnacion lifts the first pitch from Eddie Romero. Who's going to get it on the infield? That's Cabrera. They had Beckham and Longoria converging, and Asdrubal Cabrera takes care of that high pop-up against Eddie Romero.
I'll tell you what, you got to tip your hat to Matt Andriese. He gave up the run in the first inning, but settled down after that, held this Blue Jay lineup in check, and his offense has given him a 3-run lead. And now you go to the bullpen, and it'll get interesting from here on out, because the way that the Rays are hoping, you hope that Toronto has to hit in the bottom of the ninth. They're going to have to cover 6 innings. Yeah, enjoy. It's a smile there from Matt Andriese that absolutely he earned.
Strike on Justin Smoke, who now hits from the right side. One. So a little different look here at the lefty versus the right-hander. And Andriese, who limited the Blue Jays to a run in 3 innings, made 54 pitches and gives way to the hard-throwing left-hander, Eddie Romero.
Hey, bullpen days can work. Boston just ran one against the Baltimore Orioles. Craig Breslow started that game for Boston. It was his first start ever. He went 4 innings, turned it over to the rest of the bullpen, threw a shutout. Rays hoping for a similar day out of their bullpen.
Romero worked an inning and a third here Friday night, and he gets Smoke looking. Here's the strikeout pitch.
Boy, you close out a guy in. That's a great pitch by Romero. He's able to stick it on the inner half, and Justin Smoke cannot even get the bat started.
Oh, Deoner Navarro. There's a strike. Navarro lifted a fly ball to right field his first time against Andriese. So 2. Beckham from the shortstop side of the bag handles that. The ship. 1, 2, 3. Go the Blue Jays. Rays lead 4-1. History on this day in 2012. Fernando Rodney setting the franchise record, notching his 46th save of the year with a scoreless inning. And the Rays 3-2 victory over the White Sox at U.S. Cellular Field. 35 years old at the time. Surpassed the tee mark established 2 years prior by Rafael Soriano. On to the 5th inning we go, and Mark Burley out there on the hill facing Brandon Guyer to lead off an inning. Brandon led off the game with a triple and scored. With 1 out in the 3rd, he was hit by a pitch and scored. 1 strike the count on him now. 0-2.
Slow curveball there by Mark Burley. Well, the Rays getting their 3rd look. You know, they've had some success off Burley this year. This is his 3rd start against him. And now that they, well, let's see, 4 runs through 4 innings. So that is now 12 earned runs he's given up against the Rays this year in 15 2/3 innings.
2-2. They faced him twice in April. They scored a run today in the 1st. They got 2 on the home run by Matuk in the 3rd, and another run in the 4th inning. Down to first base, grabbed by Smoke. He'll make the play unassisted.
And it's a good thing because Mark Burley really didn't give a whole lot of effort towards first base. That ball squibbed off the bat of Guyer, and Burley was like, you know what, you take it. I've been out here doing this for a long time. I'm staying put.
Well, here's Mikey Matuk, who homered in the 3rd inning. His 2nd home run off Burley. Picked up 1 in April here off him. His first hit, first big league home run. A 2-0 count. Just like that, Matuk up 3-0. And he walks on 4 pitches. First walk allowed by Burley. The Rays have had runners on base in every inning except the 2nd. 1 on, 1 out in the 5th for Evan Longoria. Evan 0 for 2 today, including a strikeout looking in the 3rd. Evan came in hitting .340 in his career off Burley. That's a foul ball that 1 hops into the stands. Evan hitless yesterday, had a 14-game road on base streak against the Blue Jays and a 7-game hitting streak against them. That came to an end. And a toss to first.
Well, how about this?
Tepera up in the bullpen for the Blue Jays.
Burley at over 190 innings now, and there's been 1 stolen base attempt. Forget getting
about
there.
that.
1 attempt.
You know, when you look at his career numbers, and he's been around a long time, he's completely controlled the running game. He's pretty amazing in that department. Ground ball, 3rd base, grabbed by Donaldson. Out at 2nd. Safe at first. Matuk forced, and Longoria reaches on a fielder's choice with Donaldson ranging a good piece to his left to start that.
And that's why it wasn't turned. The ball wasn't hit that hard. Donaldson had to move a ways to get to it. So you're going to get that lead runner for sure. But with Evan Longoria hustling up the line, just no time for the Blue Jays to complete it.
You know, Burley has given up only 59 stolen bases in his entire career. And he has 101 pickoffs, which leaves him just too short of Andy Pettitte for most all time.
Well, he's got the benefit, number one, of being left-handed, so he's able to look at that base runner and get a really good read on the situation. But then he's got a great move. You know, his pickoffs don't come cheap, and at this point in his career, these guys know he's got a good move. They know he controls the running game, so typically guys are going to have small leads, and he can pick you off whether you're going or not. A lot of lefties will pick guys off if they catch them running, you know, moving on first moment. Mark Burley will pick you off when you have no intention of running. That's how good the move is.
Well, and right there, that pitch to Forsythe, you talk about a guy supposed to stop. He didn't stop at all. I mean, guys at first, it was almost a quick pitch to Forsythe out of the stretch there. There's a strike, 3-1. But he'll just mesmerize you because he controls the tempo. And you get into a rhythm where everything he does, oh, that's just the way he does it because he controls it. Skied to center field off the bat of Forsythe. Pilar is there. And the Rays are out in the 5th inning. A walk, a man left. Rays lead 4-1. Game as promised earlier. We've selected the Data Strong fan photo of the game. Tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag SS Data Strong Fan for a chance to be featured in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Manny Romero had an 8-pitch inning and now out to start another one, and a high toss to first on the bunt by Pilar, but Schaefer, tall enough and with an appropriate reach up, managed to corral that toss.
How many times do you see a pitcher when he goes to baby a throw? This is what happens. Look at, and he just kind of lobs it over there, almost clears Richie Schaefer. But you're right, you got to go up and get that ball and then find the bag on the way down, and he did to get the leadoff man.
Here's Ryan Goins. It is amazing, and we talked about that before, how a pitcher makes his living really pinpointing pitches to various spots around the plate and the zone, the strike zone. And then sometimes you'll ask him to make a throw to one of the bases, and it's nowhere near where it needs to be.
It's because they get out of whack mechanically. All of a sudden, instead of driving a pitch to its spot or being firm with a throw to a base, they baby it, they lob it, they get too careful. And when you do that, that's when the ball sails on you. Or you choke it off and throw it right in the dirt. But we see it far too often.
2-1 gets away there, stays up and in. And a tumble by Goins. And back with a strike. 2-2. Andrew Bellotti up in the Rays bullpen. And strike 3 called on Goins. 2 up and 2 down.
How about the last 2 fastballs here by Romero? You talk about location, driving that ball downhill right at the kneecaps.
Field and Colbert involved in that one, and a call 3rd strike. 5 in a row retired by Romero. Andres retired the last 7 he faced. 1-0 the count. Darwin Barney lifted a fly ball to center. DeMonta back in the 2nd inning. Shoots this one toward the corner and left. Little 2-hop the wall. Good carom by Geyer. And the throw's not going to be in time on a double by Barney.
Now that's the 2nd time he's victimized Romero. The big fastball and turning it around. We saw Darwin Barney the other night. He had all the skills on display. Saw him a couple of sacrifice bunts. And then here, mid-90s fastball. He ropes that down into the corner. And the Blue Jays with a little 2-out life.
Ben Revere. Oh for 2 today. Fastball low, 1 ball, no strikes. Revere had 3 hits yesterday, including an RBI double. He had a triple and a single in the first game, drove in a run. Picked by Maley.
Now, Jim Hickey heading out to the mound now. Have a little conference here with Eddie Romero. The one thing that the Rays have been able to do today is take this raucous crowd out of it early. Got ahead early, have continued to add on. You just mentioned how many guys were retired in a row, and that's a way to keep this crowd quiet. You don't want them getting back into it because we've seen them at their loudest. That's when the Blue Jays as a team seem to respond and put runs on the board. So keep them quiet. And this meeting, part about trying to do just that.
Miss down again to Revere. And he walks him. Well, with 2 outs, he gave up the double to the number 9 hitter and now has walked Revere to get to Josh Donaldson. And here comes Kevin Cash. So that's going to be it for Enny Romero. He works an inning in 2/3. We'll be back with the 3rd Rays pitcher of the day. 10% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Checkers, epic meals, epic deals. With 2 outs, the Toronto Blue Jays trying to put up a threat here. They put 2 men on with Josh Donaldson due. So you get down into that very dangerous part of their order now, and this time with men on base. Andrew Bellotti, the new Rays pitcher, making his 15th appearance.
Not trying to clean up the mess. And that walk to Revere, you just hope that that's something that you talk about after the game as being a mild inconvenience, but right now it gets the tying run to the plate in the person of Josh Donaldson with 40 home runs.
He has walked and struck out today, and the pitch inside 1-0. With Donaldson 29 years old, the last couple years with Oakland putting together some outstanding years, and he's gone here to Toronto in an environment that suits him just fine, and he is ahead in the count. And this is a good park to hit in versus Oakland, and he still put up good numbers out there. Took him a while to get there, but the last couple years he's been solid, and more than that here with the Blue Jays. Ground ball, shortstop. Escobar second, and they get the force there. 2 men left, and we're going to head into the 6th with the Rays leading 4-1.
In this inning, in a fun little area here, guys, the WestJet party deck, and there was a ball that was hit above this party deck by Steven Souza Jr. earlier this year. May have been the longest home run of the season for the Rays. They had one measured by J.P. Arancibia in Detroit that was measured a little bit longer, but there's some in the clubhouse that still think that this home run off of Daniel Norris was the longest of the season off the bat of any of the Rays. So there was a good debate there. Also, Richie Schaefer hit a bomb when they were in Boston. But, guys, back to you. They're enjoying themselves out here. As soon as the gates open, this whole area fills up. Back to you.
And Todd right out there in the middle of the action again. Yeah, that home run for Souza was his first of the year when he connected off Daniel Norris. Here's Asdrubal Cabrera. And the pitch is a ball. Cabrera, Souza Jr., and then Beckham due up in the 6th with Mark Burley on the hill. High fly ball to center. Pilar going back. That ball had some carry, and he goes to the track He had to keep going for that one and then readjust a little bit as it carried on him.
Well, off the bat, it looked like just your standard run-of-the-mill fly up to center field. But you're right. Look at Pilar, just keeps going, readjusts. Eyes never leave the baseball, however. He comes up with it.
Well, here's Steven Souza Jr. That's a strike. You know, he hit that home run that Todd mentioned. It went 463 feet to center field. He also hit another one in that series, and it came off Mark Burley, but they estimated at 452 feet. That came the next day when he hit that one to left off Burley. That's a ball and 2 strikes. Shoots it down the line. That's going to be a foul ball. Take a look at that home run he hit off Burley. Here it is. Foul ball back this time. Rays got a 12-7 win in that game. Actually, there was a 12-7 loss despite all of the power. And then they beat Burley at the Trop 5-1. He started to go and checked. 2-2.
That's the challenge. You know, that ball's floating up there. You get a really good look at it. You want to go get it because it looks so hittable, but it's off the plate. That's a nice job of holding up by Souza.
Again, he went this time.
That was not a good job of holding up by Steven Souza Jr. One pitch later, and he is not able to lay off. Just fluttering up there, and boy, therein lies that challenge once again. It's just so hittable.
That's the way with temptation. Resist it the first time, it comes back to get you the next time. You got to be careful. And he's out on strikes this time around.
Can be quite costly too.
So Tim Beckham up here, GMC big matchup. Beckham against the Jays in 10 games this year is hitting .393. Making a start today is 1 for 2 and rolls this one to second. Burley completes the 6th inning. We go to the bottom of the frame. Rays lead 4-1. the lead in the first on the base hit by Logan Forsythe, driving in Brandon Guyer. Justin Smoak's doubled in the bottom of the first, scored Josh Donaldson to tie it. But in the third, with one out, Mikey Montook belted a 2-run home run after Guyer had been hit by a pitch. Home run number 6 for Montook. Added another run in the fourth inning, and they lead 4-1 headed into the bottom of the sixth, with Bautista, Encarnacion, and Smoak due up, and Brandon Gomes will get the call.
Well, right on schedule here for the Rays, and I know before the game that manager Kevin Cash had told Todd Callis that he's not going to be able to play the matchup game, but it's just about what he's doing here. Eddie Romero gets into some trouble, then Velotti's able to get out of it. Now we turn over to Gomes. Made the lead hold up so far.
So Bautista 0 for 2. Velotti, who pitched yesterday an inning, goes a third of an inning to get Donaldson, and now it's Gomes. Bautista chops it to short. Cabrera makes the play. One pitch, one out. That the height of efficiency.
That's exactly what you need. If you've got a beat up bullpen and you're factoring in that you're going to have to cover 6 innings and get 18 outs, you need some efficiency.
The hitter will be Encarnacion. Cedeno up in the bullpen now. Strike one to Edwin Encarnacion. One and one. It's on the edge. It's Drew Hutchison in the bullpen for Toronto. Two and two. The count is full. Foul ball on the check swing. Reese for 3, made 54 pitches. Eddie Romero an inning and 2/3. Then Velotti for a third. Now Gomes. And that is ball 4. Third walk given up by Rays pitching today. Justin Smoak will be the hitter. Starts him away off the plate. One and one.
Tried to find the release point on that breaking ball. That was a good one there by Brandon. After the walk to Encarnacion, he missed a couple. The lineup you do not want to be pitching from behind against.
And just missed outside. 2 and 1.
A lot of off speed. sometimes you give these lineups a little bit too much credit. Kind of stay away from the fastball, go with more of the breaking ball, the changeup.
Goes fastball and fouls it back. 2-2.
Yep, and there's nothing wrong with that. And you can ask any hitter, and they'll tell you the best pitch in the game is a well-located fastball. And if you've got the confidence in your ability to locate that pitch, you just should never shy away from it. Certainly there are sequences where you're going to be heavy with the off-speed, no doubt about it. But as a general rule, if you can spot the fastball, that makes those secondary pitches so much better and more effective, really.
2-2 into the dirt. Nicely blocked by Maile. Count is full. Going to get out of here. 2-run home run by Smoke, and that will make it a 1-run ball game. Smoke has driven in all 3 Toronto runs.
Now you got yourself into a situation. You walk in Encarnacion, you go full count to Smoke. You come with the fastball, but it is not located well. Middle in. And look at the turn and burn swing of Justin Smoke. That ball gets out into the second deck, and the Blue Jays close it within 1.
Kevin Cash to the mound. That'll be it for Gomes. Call will go to the Rays bullpen here in what is now a 4-3 ball game. Just for men, mustache and beard, your best beard ever. And by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. 1-run game as we play in the bottom of the 6th inning. Xavier Cedeno becomes the 5th Rays pitcher. Deanna Navarro will bat from the right side against him. And he takes a strike.
Well, the margin for error has been trimmed. Now just a 1-run lead. Cedeno on for the 59th time. The ERA under 2, more than a strikeout an inning. Had a nice year for the Rays.
And lines this one into left for a hit. Geyer keeps it out of the corner. It's a single for Navarro. Cedeno greeted with a base hit.
Now these Blue Jay hitters starting to feast on mistakes. That's a cutter right there that stayed out over the plate. And Navarro able to keep this inning alive.
Jim Hickey's going to make a visit to the mound. Kevin Pillar, the hitter due. Cedeno was in the game for 2/3 of an inning yesterday. Faced Pillar, who got a base hit off him in yesterday's game. Which is a strike. A couple of ground ball outs today. One a bunt. That was in the 5th. Then he grounded to short earlier in the 2nd inning. Rays could use that ground ball to short right now. 1-1.
That's what Cedeno trying to get. That ball, working it down in the zone. Coming in today, Pillar had a tremendous series. A lot of extra base hits. Stay down.
Base hit the other way. Off a fastball. Souza with the pickup. And if sooner did you say keep it down than the pitch was up?
I was just going to say that's not down. With Pillar, you've got to be careful. He's hot right now. You leave a pitch elevated, and he's able to inside out it right out into right field. And the Blue Jays, relentless.
Brian Goins is due. He's going to be lifted. See Alex Colomé loosening in the bullpen. Colabello is headed to the plate to pinch hit for Goins. There's Colabello with 14 home runs on the year. Two men on, one out. Swing and a miss, a big cut on a fastball. 4 consecutive Toronto hitters reaching base, starting with the walk to Encarnacion, and then Justin Smoak's 17th home run of the year. Navarro and Pillar have followed with base hits, both off Cedeno. 1 strike to count to Colabello. Colabello did not go on the appeal, says Paul Schreiber. Boy, he came pretty close.
Yes, he did. Like to see it. Look at that from the side. Here it is. Ball down. You could have, should have probably.
He could have called an attempt to swing and a strike on that one. But it's 1-1.
I think even the body language of Colabello, he was expecting that.
Two balls and a strike. Ground ball back over the mound. Out at second. Beckham's throw to first. Out there. The Rays get the double play ball and get out of the jam. Beckham to Schaefer on the chopper up the middle. 2-run score on the home run. Rays on the double play. Hang on to a 1-run lead.
Saturday, fans, while supplies last, get this, guys, a freezer mug courtesy of GTE Financial. It's an Oktoberfest freezers mug with a little TB logo on the front, so check it out. This will be a nice giveaway. And after the game, a little concert performed by Steve Aoki. So that's coming up Saturday against the Blue Jays, final Saturday of the season. Call 888-FAN-RAYS or go to RaysBaseball.com. Get your freezer mug while they last, guys.
Yeah, that freezer mug just in the nick of time for October. It'll be a great item. Cliff Pennington's going to take over at shortstop. Goins lifted for the pinch hitter. And we're also going to see a new pitcher. Liam Hendricks will enter the game. 6 innings for Burley, and now Hendricks makes his 56th appearance. 5-0 with a .259 earned run average. Richie Schaefer will lead off against him. And hits a high pop-up. Pennington just in the game will get the opportunity and makes the catch. 1 pitch, 1 out. Well, welcome to the game. Get adjusted to the high sky.
Isn't that the way it always works? Whether it's on the ground or in the air, you'll get tested soon.
Well, John Jaso's going to come off the bench for the Rays. The hit from Maile. So Maile gone 0 for 2. And here's Jaso, 6 of 16 on the year as a pinch hitter. Strike 1.
Now, Liam Hendricks, after leaving the starting rotation, coming out of the bullpen, the fastball, a few more ticks to it. Saw that one at 95.
Two quick ones, and he's ahead of Jaso, 2 strikes.
And it doesn't look like John Jaso picking up that pitch very well. Very tardy on both of the swings. It's good velocity, but typically Jaso, you know, he gives you a good at bat. He's usually right on just about everything.
on his foul in on him.
And that one beat him. I mean, this has been 3 straight heaters, and as of yet, John Jaso not able to time him up.
And he got on strikes. He just stayed with the hard stuff. That one in the mid-90s, and he strikes out Jaso.
Well, that's just recognition, whether it's on Hendricks' part or Navarro or a combination, but the fastball was giving Jaso trouble, so there's no reason to go away from it. Hey, how about this? A Jake McGee sighting.
Yep. Jake, a simulated game the other day. He's ready to go and up in the bullpen now for the Rays. Brandon Guyer. Tapper foul. Well, Hendricks had been with the Twins, had a short stint with the Blue Jays last year, and then wound up in Kansas City briefly. Back with the Blue Jays now. Did he offer? He did not. 1-1. We've seen Hendricks mid-90s with that fastball. He'll throw you the slider. He also has a changeup. Fastball for a strike. 1-2. Two outs, bases empty. Want that in here. 795 plus pitches. And another one, this one wide, and the count is full.
Sticking with that fastball and just missing on that one there. Gets to a full count, and hopefully Brandon Guyer is going to get a pitch out over the plate here. You got to figure that Hendricks is going to come with that heater, so be ready.
Foul back. Hard stuff again.
Well, 2 outs, nobody on, and a full count. You're already down a run. The fastball is what you've been going with this entire inning. There's no reason to think anything else is going to come here. Not to mention, if you're Brandon Guyer, you don't want to get beat by 95, 96, so you got to be ready for it and react if he comes with something off speed.
Fouls it again. Battling here, extending this at bat to 7 pitches. Look at that.
Not trying to be fancy. Here it is.
And a swing and a miss. Well, all of those fastballs, and then that one in at 89 on the slider. He strikes him out. Middle of the 7th, Rays by a run. Of the 7th, and here's what's coming up Tuesday on Rays Live, the pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Rays will take on the Miami Marlins. Matt Moore on the hill, we'll hear from him, and Aristis will break down D. Gordon. Rene Rivera behind the plate for the Rays, and Jake McGee on the hill. We'll face Darwin Barney. Jake back active now. That's a good sight to see out there.
Oh, he was chomping at the bit to get back out on the mound, and here he goes, trying to protect the one-run lead.
Pitch is a strike. McGee reinstated technically yesterday. It's 35 games due to his left knee surgery. Out there for the first time since the 18th of August. 1-1.
Now, when he went down with that injury, Jake McGee, he was adamant that he wanted to make it back by the end of the season, hoping that the Rays were still in the playoff race, and if they weren't, at least to be able to have some peace of mind going into the offseason.
2-1. Pitch popped up. Foul ball. Longoria is after it near the stands. Has room to make the catch. One away. We'll go to the top of the order. Ben Revere. Sanchez, the hard-throwing right-hander, up in the bullpen. The ball, no strikes. Two and 0. Toward the left field line. Geyer in a hurry. That's out of play. What a great effort by Brandon Geyer. Just couldn't get there, and it's 2-1 now.
You know, that's one thing that the Rays continue to give is great effort. You think about even that game yesterday, down 5-0 in the first inning to David Price, and they came roaring back to 5-4 and continued to battle the Blue Jays throughout. Had a chance really at the end. Ended up dropping that game 10-8, but the effort always there.
It's 3-1.
And I would really like Jake McGee to try and throw a strike here, because you don't want to walk and then end up going through that heart of the order again.
High shot back into left center. Still going, and that ball is going to bound off the wall. One hop, and it's going to be a double. Well, a couple missteps out there on that one between Montauk and Geyer. Rivera winds up at second.
Miscommunication all around. It seemed as if Montauk and Geyer were both drifting, expecting the other to make the catch. This is just a fly ball into left center field. And it seemed like right here, now what? No one's able to get there. It bounds up off the top of the fence. And the Blue Jays are in business. So those are the plays right there where you miss Kevin Kiermaier out in center field. A different group today, and that ball drops in.
And just like that, the potential tying run is in scoring position. And Josh Donaldson is the hitter. Donaldson walked and scored in the first. He's 0 for 2. Goes after the first one. There's a high pop foul drifting into the stands. McGee and Donaldson in the 7th inning. 1-run ball game. Fastball 95 wide. 1-1. In off the plate. Upstairs. 3-1. High fly ball, not overly deep to left. Geyer takes the catch on this one. Big out. 2 gone as Donaldson skies to left.
And the slow walk back by Josh Donaldson tells you everything you need to know about that at bat. He got a 3-1 fastball out over the plate that he obviously feels that he should have driven. He got just a hair underneath it. And it ends up being just a standard fly ball to left. He didn't miss it by much.
Jose Bautista. One ball, no strikes. See, Bautista 1 of 9 against Jake with a strikeout. That's in there. 1-1. Revere doubled on a ball that Montook and Geyer had difficulty getting together on. It dropped in for 2. He's at second. 2 outs in the 7th. Pop up right side, foul. Headed toward the stands, and that's going to be just out of play atop the dugout. 1-2 now. Blue Jays have clinched a postseason spot, but not the division. Kansas City has clinched the Central, and the Mets clinching the East in the National League. Here the Rays lead the Blue Jays 4-3 in the bottom of the 7th. 1-2 the count on Jose Bautista. And it's low. Got the breaking ball in there. It's quite a change from 95 to 70.
Slower than we have seen previously. We've seen Jake McGee go to some off-speed stuff, the breaking ball in particular, more often. But I don't know if we've seen him down there at 70. I mean, that was a slow roller.
The 2-2. This one off the mitt of Rivera. Over to third goes Rivera.
Just a fastball with some elevation. Absolutely a pitch that should have been handled by Rene. Was not. And you get the speed of Rivera 90 feet closer. Now the thing about it is, retire Jose Bautista and so what? One more out. One more pitch.
3-2. Down to third, grabbed by Longoria. Throw to first in time, a hot shot, and Longoria stayed right with it to make the play to retire Bautista and the Blue Jays. They leave a man in third, and we're headed into the eighth. Longoria comes up with a saver there. Take another look at that play at third. Our H.H. Gregg high def highlight. Oh, well hit by Bautista, and Longoria stayed with it. Hendricks back to the mound to work the eighth. Mikey Montook will lead off against him. Longoria and Forsythe. Montook driving in 2 runs with a home run in the third. It's ball 1. Hendricks came into the game in the 7th. He came in throwing strikes and throwing hard. Out of play, 1-1. Two balls and a strike. Rays got a run in the first. Forsythe driving in Geyer. 2 in the third on Matuk's home run. And a sacrifice fly to left in the fourth off the bat of Schaefer. Ground ball up the middle. It's Pennington and a high throw that skips into the camera well. And that's going to give Matuk second base. And Pennington ranging far to his left will be charged with an error, a hit and an error here.
Ball right off the end of the bat. He's not going to get to it in time, and then trying to make that throw from that position awfully difficult. This throw sails on him, and then a bonus for the Rays here. It's able to bounce up over the short wall and into the stands, so that gets Matuk into scoring position with nobody out. Now this is a game of, well, you'd love for Evan Longoria to get him in, but at least get him over, get him in. Give yourself some breathing room here.
Evan 0 for 3 today. Pitch in.
Well, Evan having a tremendous month of September. The last couple of days, the Blue Jays have made it hard on him. 0 for 5 in yesterday's game, 0 for 3 today. But boy, one hit here, that'd be huge for the Rays.
There goes a runner. The pitch is high, the throw high, in safely at third base. A steal by Matuk. And the Rays have a man at third with nobody out.
You know, this is the second time on this trip we've seen Mikey Matuk swipe third base when you typically don't do it. You don't want to make the first out down there, and he put himself in position to do that with a good throw. A good throw probably gets him.
He got to the bag and his entire body stayed on it. And the Blue Jays want to take a look. Josh Donaldson had signaled early on that thought they had a chance to have gotten him there. And the Blue Jays decide they'd like to have this play looked at.
Now into the bag, obviously he beats the throw, and then the tag is going to come down. Is he at that point still on the bag? I think that's what the Blue Jays and Josh Donaldson are wondering. Right there, as you tag him, there's no way to really say definitively that he wasn't on the bag, so I don't know how this would ever get overturned. You saw the dirt that was kicked up kind of gets in the way of what you're looking at. So you can understand the Blue Jays. I mean, this is almost a guaranteed run. Runner at third, nobody out. So they're aggressively going after this play, but I don't see how you can call him anything but safe.
So a Toronto challenge on the steal of third by Matuk. Colbert and Manny Gonzalez down there.
Well, everybody here at Rogers Center thinks that this is going to be overturned. See, here it is. Okay, the tag goes on him, but how do you know? I mean, you got that dirt kicked up over the edge of the bag that the shin wasn't in contact with the bag. I don't think that's something you can definitively say.
Well, that's the standard. And they're obviously looking at it, but there's really even the angle they show on the scoreboard here in center field. I have to be with you. There's nothing definitive that would indicate that. So you can only guess that they're looking at every angle, trying to exhaust all the possibilities before coming back with a final ruling on this challenge.
Trying to piece everything together. I'm just going to be real interested to hear how loud the boos are when this comes back and it doesn't go their way. A lot of people here. We'll just lay out and let them boo.
We're in the 8th. Montook reached on an infield hit and went to second as part of that play on a throwing error by Cliff Pennington. And then the steal of third with the count 2-0 on Longoria now, and that stolen base call. And he is safe.
How would you rank it? How would you rank the boo? It's pretty hearty.
Yeah, well, you've got 47,287 in concert. And as boos go, they were on key. 3 minutes and 42 seconds to decide. Now the 2-0 to Longoria, and that's a foul ball outside of third. Blue Jays now with this crowd have drawn 2,794,891, almost 2.8 million. That's the highest since 1995 here. A little tap, third base, and Montook trying to get back to the bag is out. Montook started down and hesitated, tried to get back, and he is out at third.
Now, not the best base running there by Montook. First of all, the stealing of third with nobody out, that's already risky and dangerous. And then here, if you're not going on contact, there's no reason to be that far off the bag. Off on contact means right there you go. Obviously, he's not going on contact, and that little start towards home plate cost him.
So the Rays lose that base runner at third on a mistake. Longoria is at first. Logan Forsythe is due, and John Gibbons makes a slow walk to the mound here in the 8th.
Is that what we're calling that?
Pitching change coming for Toronto. Backs fundraiser. Proceeds benefit Rays charitable outreach efforts throughout Tampa Bay. For more details, visit RaysBaseball.com/shirts. Rays up. Well, the pitching change brings on the young, hard-throwing right-hander Aaron Sanchez, third pitcher for John Gibbons today.
See that in the strikeouts, 57. How about the walks, though? 44. The command issues, that's about 4.5 walks per 9 innings.
First pitch to Logan Forsythe misses. Ball, no strikes.
You can definitely see the stuff end of things with Sanchez. That ball, 96, was really, really good hand speed out in front. So that's going to give him some movement on top of the velocity.
Fouled up the right side, out of play, 1-1. Forsythe faced Sanchez yesterday, grounded out to third. 1-1. The count on him with a man at first, 1 out in the 8th. All 2 strikes. Mid-90s with that fastball. Steve Delabar up in the bullpen. Out to second. Hardy steps on the bag and throws to first. They get the double play. The Rays miss an opportunity to take a 4-3 lead into the bottom of the 8th. Perhaps build an inning in the top of the 8th. It was Montook's 2-run home run that gave the Rays their 2nd and 3rd runs. Coming up on Rays Live, the postgame presented by Checkers. Rich and Orestes will anchor the coverage from the studio. We'll hear from Kevin Cash on the manager's postgame conference. Todd Callis will collect interviews from the clubhouse. Alex Colomé, the new pitcher for the Rays. He'll face Edwin Encarnacion. Then Smoke and Navarro. 21st appearance for Colomé, 6-5 on the year. It's a fastball in the upper reaches of the zone for a strike. One and one.
So far, manager Kevin Cash has been able to piece it together to now get to Colomé. You got to figure Boxberger perhaps for the 9th, but he's got to get some work done here in the 8th.
Shot to center field. Montauk back there, reaching up and into the shadows of the track, makes the catch.
That ball off the bat of Encarnacion. Mikey Montauk making sure that he's got a good read on it. And able to track it down by the wall. You're always nervous coming through the heart of this order, the damage they can do with the long ball. That ball well struck, but not good enough.
And here's Justin Smoak, who has doubled and homered, 2 for 3. Struck out on a fastball in the 4th. He's accounted for all 3 of the Blue Jays runs today. A ball, no strikes. Ball, 1 strike. Two and one. Left-hander Cecil up in the bullpen for the Blue Jays. And to left center for a base hit. Geyer fires it back toward the infield, and Smoak has his 3rd hit.
Wade, you talked a little bit about his transformation early in the game. Here he is again. The balls that are away from him, look at him just go out there and shoot it. And the home run was a pitch that was middle in. And he had quick enough hands to turn and hit that thing for a home run. So right now you watch Justin Smoak at the plate, and he is locked in. Pitch him away, he goes away. Pitch him in, he'll turn with power.
And so twice he's gone the other way today. Now Pompey's got a pinch run for him. And they put some speed on the bases at first.
But that's the one thing he's not been able to do, is turn himself into a speed demon. And with that 1 run that the Blue Jays need, you get your quick guys out there.
Dalton Pompey is the runner. Deanna Navarro at the plate. Fastball upstairs. A ball, no strikes. Pompey 4 out of 4 in the stolen base attempts. There's a strike. Now 1-1. Jays have an interesting mix of speed and power. Pompey will draw the throw. 2-1. It's been a one-run game since the 6th when Smoke hit a 2-run home run. He is singled in the 8th and now lifted for Pompey, the pinch runner. 1 on, 1 out in the 8th. And a high fly ball into right. Souza Jr. shading his eyes will make the catch. Pompey's back to first. 2 gone on the fly ball to right field.
And this is where you really got to look for Dalton Pompey to maybe go. You try to get a runner in scoring position here with 2 outs. Colomé pretty quick to the plate, so he's not the easiest guy to run on. But the Blue Jays can't see him just sitting idly by. Maybe if you were in the middle of their lineup, but now here down here towards the bottom, even though Pilar has shown himself pretty well the first couple of games of this series.
He's 1 for 3 today with a single the other way in the 6th inning. Colomé over to Schaefer. Colomé back in. Stairs. An opening fastball in the upper reaches of the zone for a strike.
And a nice job by Rene Rivera. You know, that's one thing he does well is receive the ball, and he was able to get on top of that fastball. And as he catches it, he almost kind of flexes that wrist down, so he makes it look even better than it was.
One and one. Good sweeping away. Colomé making his first appearance in this series. Again to first. Colomé is back in. He's gone. Swing and a miss. Throw down is not going to be in time. Pompey picks up his 5th stolen base of the year.
You knew it was going to be a matter of time, especially with the 2 outs. Pompey at some point was going to go. He picked a good pitch to run on too. It was a breaking ball, a slider. And he gets a great jump. Look at the efficiency of his movements towards second base. I mean, a straight line. They do those route trackers and the outfielders. That one right there about 100%. No wasted movement at all by Pompey.
The Blue Jays now with speed at second base. A 1-2 count on Pilar. Number foul. Do the 1-2 again. Well, they made it a 1-run game in the 6th inning and then had men at first and second in the aftermath of that home run. Colabello, the pinch hitter, grounded into a double play. Rivera doubled with 1 out in the 7th. Moved to third on a pass ball. He was left on. Now Smoke with a single. Pompey running for him with 2 outs has stolen his way into scoring position. 2 gone, a 1-2 count to Pilar. the left field side. That's going to be a fair ball. Well, one hop the fence. Game is tied. Pilar winds up at second. It's 4-4.
Just go to the location of the pitch. Colome's been pretty good down in the zone and with the slider, and he kind of babies that pitch, and it stays up around the letters, and just too easy for Pilar. He recognized it early and gets it all the way out to the wall. The Blue Jays come all the way back and tie it up.
Four ball game. Pennington at the plate, switch hitter, better from the left side than the right side. And the pitch is a strike. And for the third straight inning, they had been in scoring position. This time, the double by Pilar ties the game. Fouls a fastball back. 0-2. Started to go, the pitch blocked.
It's stuck like in Rene Rivera's neck. The top of his chest protector, that ball got stuck. Watch this thing. Come on.
John Gibbons out and Luis Rivera.
They're talking about an equipment issue. You know, you can't use your mask to catch a ball, or that's just a ball in the dirt that got stuck. I can't imagine what else he would be asking about. A breaking ball into the dirt.
Well, he's just checking to see if the other umpire saw anything differently than he did. And all he saw is that the ball was stuck there.
That's not exactly the place that Rene Rivera wants to catch a baseball, so that wasn't on purpose.
1-2 the count to Pennington. Swing and a miss. Pennington missed the slider. He's out on strikes. But a run scores. We're tied 4-4 at the end of 8. summary brought to you by Gold and Diamond Source. We go to the ninth, tied 4-4. Mikey Montook hit a 2-run home run back in the third inning. Accounting for 2 of those runs, Forsythe drove in a run. So did Richie Schaefer. Justin Smoke with 3 runs batted in, including a home run. Kevin Pillar drove in the tying run. Matt Haig takes over at first base. Brett Cecil takes over on the mound.
Brett Cecil's not given up an earned run in his last 28 and third innings, racking up 38 strikeouts in that time frame.
Asdrubal Cabrera, the first man to face him, bouncing it foul for a strike. Cabrera down 0-2.
Now Cecil's able to bring that breaking ball. You know, he's got high arm angle, works downhill very well. And so when he is able to keep the fastball down in the zone and throw the breaking ball off of that, boy, it is hard to hold up.
Cabrera held up that time. So says Paul Schreiber.
He tried to come right back with that pitch. And let's take a look. You might have got away with one there. If he hits that, it's a double.
Double would be pretty good right about
Wouldn't
now.
it?
The 1-2. He's out on strikes. Well, Cecil, talk about being consistent with that pitch. Take a look at that.
I mean, look at the depth it gets, and it's late. He's able to drive the pitch downhill, and that at bat to Cabrera, it was a show fastball. Here it is for the first pitch, and then went right to the breaking ball and ended up putting him away. Look at those numbers since the end of June.
Steven Souza Jr. pops it into left center field. That ball will be caught. Boy, it almost went into the triangle out there. They had Pillar, Rivera, and Pennington. And the ball caught. Here's another look.
See who ends up with it. Boy, the gloves go into each other. Watch the gloves of Pillar and Revere. He caught Revere's glove and the ball. Or Revere caught the ball and then Pillar caught the glove. Look at that, squeezing right down on. Yeah, that's in Revere's glove, and Pillar caught Revere's glove just to make sure that that ball was caught.
Give Rivera the put out and Pillar the assist then.
Amen. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
Well, that could be dangerous. And now Tim Beckham going to strike. Beckham 1 out of 3. Cecil has followed Burley, Hendricks, and Sanchez. And a little soft liner down to Haig at first. 1, 2, 3, go the Rage. We go to the bottom of the ninth. tied 4-4. On Sun Sports. Headed into the bottom of the ninth inning. Steve Geltz is the new pitcher for the Rays. Their 8th pitcher of the day. Blue Jays have a 13-man bullpen. The Rays have an 11-man bullpen. And so Geltz is on here in the bottom of the ninth inning.
69th appearance for Steve Geltz. 66 innings, 60 strikeouts, a 189 opponent's average. And a big spot right here. The crowd on their feet, the towels are going. Tie ball game, bottom of the ninth.
Ezequiel Carrera will pinch hit. Carrera, left-handed bat coming off the bench. 78 for the year. This pitch is high. Carrera hitting for Darwin Barney. Barney had a double today. High fly ball, right field. Souza Jr. makes the catch. So the pinch hitter is retired. Ben Revere. Revere has walked and doubled. Fastball's a strike. Fastball upstairs. 1-1. Toronto out hitting the Rays 9-6. Scoring a run in the bottom of the 8th to tie it at 4. Two-one. Fly ball left side, and Geyer will be there for this one. So 2 outs in the 9th inning. And that will get Josh Donaldson to the plate. Donaldson is 0 for 3. Walked and scored back in the 1st inning. And he takes a big cut right there, trying to end it, strike 1.
Now coming out of his comfort zone here. Got a hanger too. Hanging breaking ball. Donaldson cut loose. That maybe hung too much. That was up above the swing.
There's a long one to left. That's going to do it. Donaldson hits his 41st home run of the year. People haven't believed in the Blue Jays now. I don't know why not. Walk-off home run. Two outs, bottom of the 9th, an 0-1 pitch. Cecil will get the win. Geltz will take the loss. The Blue Jays walk it off. Tomorrow's a day off for the Rays. They'll open their final homestand of the year on Tuesday. We'll be with you Tuesday night at 6:30 on Sun Sports. Matt Moore will open that one. For Brian Anderson, Todd Callis, and the rest of our crew, Dwayne Stats, hope you've enjoyed the telecast. If not the outcome, Rays Live, the postgame, presented by Checkers, comes your way next.